On now to some security-related news focusing on murder, and police in the Volta region have arrested a man for allegedly beheading a 12-year-old boy. The incident took place by the Bator Aveyime Police Command in the Central Town District of the Volta region. In the Central Region town of Mankesim, residents are asking the police to intensify patrols there after discovering the body of a pregnant woman in a pool of blood. She had her head severed and other parts removed. Her fetus was also seen lying beside her. From the scene, the woman could have suffered forced labor, as her fetus was also lying beside her lifeless body. Well, these are just two of many such murders witnessed in the country, particularly this year. Many are concerned about the trend and have expressed worry over the inability of the security agencies to curb them. Today, the police itself issued a report on the murders for the first half of this year, and as expected, it's not looking good. So we're going to take you through some of the graphics at this juncture, and we're going to take a look at the murder cases in the country so far in the first half of this year, 2021. Specifically, we're talking about January to June. So when you take a look, there are 313 reported cases, out of which 307 have been noted to be confirmed murder cases. So 307 of them, as some report 306. Then murder cases in the first half of 2021. When you look at the sex distribution, we're looking at 261 males who have been killed and 52 females who have been killed. And you can see that the number of males who have actually been killed is almost about 5 to 6 times the number of females. We also have a regional distribution that we can take a quick look at, and you would realize that the Ashanti region has the highest rate of murder cases with 73 of them. The Greater Accra region is next on the list with 47. Then there's the Eastern region with 39, the Central region with 24, the Volta region with 22, and you can move on to 21 for the next region. Then there is 16 as well. Then there's Western North with 13. There is the Upper East with 12. There's Savannah with 11. There's the Western region with 7. Both the Western region and the Upper West with 7. There's Ahafo with 6. There's the Northern region with 5. The Northeast with 5. And the OT region as well with 5. All totaling the 307 that we speak of. That is the current state of murder cases in the country. Now, the current situation is part of a general rise in crime, especially violent ones such as armed robbery, some of them on the highway. So what's the plan of the police to deal with it? We'll hear from the Director of Public Affairs of the Police Service shortly. First, though, some action has been taken already to deal with the problem. So let's take a quick look at that statement from the Ghana Police Service, and it says, police arrest 6 robbery and murder suspects. And the first point is that within the last 24 hours, 6 suspects have been arrested for robbery and murder and are currently under investigation. The suspects are Kofi Poku, Dennis Atasamwa Sr., Dennis Atasamwa Jr., all drivers' mates, Asante Edward alias Oboy, Dauda Apia and Yusuf Abdallah. It goes on to say in the Ashanti region, preliminary investigations indicates that suspects Kofi Poku, Dennis Atasamwa Sr., Dennis Atasamwa Jr., and Asante Edward allegedly stabbed and snatched the handbag of one Sharifa Yakubu, a 22-year-old apprentice hairdresser now deceased at Kumasi Academy, SHS, popularly known as Kumaka Junction, while on her way to Asokore Mampong. She was rushed to the Manshia Government Hospital but died shortly on arrival. In another case in the Savannah region, suspects Dauda Apia and Yusuf Abdallah allegedly robbed their victim of his gold detecting machine at gunpoint at Telekura. Other accomplices are currently on the run. A search conducted on them led to the discovery, or recovery I should say, of an empty shell of G3 ammunition, a single-barreled gun, and a cutlass. The suspects were arrested through intelligence-led operations and are currently in police custody pending trial. We thank the public for their current continued support and wish to give the assurance that the police will continue to work tirelessly to make our communities safer. It is signed, of course, by Kwesi Ofori, Assistant Commissioner of Police, Acting Director General, Public Affairs. First, though, we actually join security analyst Adib Sane for a conversation via Zoom as we get into the nitty-gritty of some of these matters and what we can forecast. Adib, thank you very much for joining us on The Pulse. Now, starting from this trend where we've had some 306, 307 murder cases so far between January and June, how much of a worry would you say this is for the general public?
Well, most of the worry is in how far we have come with the investigation, because last week the 313 was actually 309, and most worryingly, only one of it has, been finalized, meaning closure has been brought to the case. The remaining 308, as at last week, is still, some are still under investigation, and I'm pretty sure for others, investigation hasn't started. It's a clear indication of the fact that by the close of this year, considering the trajectory, we might have an all-decade high in terms of murder rate in the country, because the last time we had a high number was in 2017, when it was about 609. And looking at the rate for the first half of the year, meaning we could be hitting 700, and that, I must say, is worrying, because a lot more potential criminals are motivated to go into it, hoping that they will be left off the hook, because if others have been able to do it and nobody's been able to hold them to account, if they also perpetrate the crime, the likelihood they will be caught is very low. And it brings to fore the issue of crime and investigation, and whether indeed our investigators are well capacitated enough in terms of skills and logistics to be able to make sense of the myriad, the plethora of cases before them that seems not to be making any headway. And by the way, it is also important to note that these are just those that have been reported to the police. We have others that are not reported to the police. For example, you are with your colleague in the office, the next minute his tummy hurts him, then within an hour or two he's dead. So you wouldn't even be able to tell whether he was poisoned or not. Or you see someone hanging from a tree, then you immediately judge that the person had committed suicide. There are instances people are seen dead with rat poison beside them. Then we assume they committed suicide also, forgetting that murderers can actually stage a crime scene to make it look like suicide. So the question is, to what extent do we train our officers, who are usually the first respondents, to safeguard the integrity of the crime scene so important information is retrieved that would aid in investigation? So we are able to build watertight cases against suspects. Unfortunately, we base it on circumstantial evidence, and these same bad guys are thrown back to the streets and they continue with their activities. So I must say, it is worrying, and a lot more Ghanaians are scared. I mean, I've spoken with a number of people who are even scared to step out of their homes, especially after 6 p.m. Businesses are also not, progressing because people are scared. I have to reduce the amount of cash I have on me. Meanwhile, it is my cash that drives my business, because at any time, whether it is late in the evening or 12 midday, criminals can come into your shop and do away with your earnings.
So part of what you say has to do with the forensic handicaps, if you can put it that way, of the Ghana Police Service. But so far, in dealing with the menace of murder, and especially on the back of the acting IGP, Dr. Dampare, taking over, how would you say the police service has fared in seeking to curb crime? Especially murder, I should say.
So far, I mean, I am someone who has never doubted IGP Dampare's capabilities. I mean, his credentials cannot be questioned whatsoever. A lot of efforts have been made so far. One of the most important things I think he should do is to engender the relationship between the civilian population and the police based on mutual trust and respect. By so doing, a lot of these criminals who are within our fold, who are within the communities, we report them to the police. But currently, there's no motivation to do that. So for him to institute the horse patrol initiative is something I find quite plausible and progressive enough. But it has to go beyond that, so we are able to take advantage of the bicycles that are at the central warehouse of the Ghana Police Service, make it available to these officers, so we are able to enhance the patrol regime. Apart from that, I understand some officers have been deployed to some parts of the country, including around especially the Bono region area, to work towards reducing the scourge of highway robberies.
Right.
I've seen the IGP go on patrols with his men. He has gone around the country to familiarize himself with the workings. But I think that it has to go way beyond what is currently being done.
Okay, Adib, hold your horses right there, especially on the tangent you are going down right now. I want you to listen to ACP Kwesifori and some of what he had to share with regard to what the police has been doing, and then we can continue the conversation. So let's
start with the issues of highway robbery. We've noticed that there have been a number of cases that have been recorded, especially in the northeast area, the highways there. And this is not just recent, but we recorded one that has brought the nation's attention to it, which got a journalist, an international journalist, killed. What is the police's observation of highway robberies generally in the country?
One thing is we are determined, to fight highway robberies wherever in the country, especially Bono East and the Northern Corridor. And we are determined to do that. Our observation pinpoints to the fact that the situation has been very perennial. It is a perennial legacy that need to be stopped. And the Acting Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Akufu Dampare, has pledged to the people of Ghana that we're going to stop it. And as a result, we've deployed special anti-robbery task force to the eastern region, specifically Afram Plains, Samankasi areas, and then in the Bono East, that is Kejeji, Kwame Yeji, through Techiman and all other places, and we are determined to stop it. Our men on there carrying out special tax operations, targeted operations, as well as maintaining general law enforcement on those routes. And we can say that things are moving on very well. Yesterday, in the eastern region of Afram Place, for instance, we arrested 21 people with various arms, ammunitions, and implements adapted to cause harm and mayhem. And we are so determined. In fact, we are sweeping all those corridors, to make sure that the good people over there live in peace and security.
You mentioned that this is a perennial issue. Per your observation, is there something in particular that triggers this or creates that environment for these robbers to attack within specific periods of the year?
One thing is they normally target businessmen and women plying that route, those who go in to buy food products, from the northern side of the country, the mid-belt, among others, and also people traveling from, other countries, through that corridor to Accra or Kumasi. And one thing is that we've really identified all those routes, and we've put policemen out there with specific instructions to do whatever they can within lawful means to halt it. And I believe that the gain so far, about 2-3 weeks ago, is so encouraging, and we'll press on till we get them out. And whoever crosses the path of the police by additional violence to decent people in society, ordinary people in society, the police will do whatever within the ambit of the law to stop it. And I can tell you, those who killed the international journalist around Tamale, Buipe, Kintampo area, police carry out a heavy security operations, which is intelligence-led. The people were identified, and while the police about to apprehend them, they opened fire on the police, and the police used every means, hard palm approach to the issue. 2 were killed, and 4 succumbed to arrest. They are presently under investigations, and we'll be doing everything possible to make sure that they face justice. That is the hallmark of our operations. So the 3 special units deployed under the task force, that is on the Northern Corridor, the Bono East, and some parts of Eastern Region, Afram Plains, Samankasi, and other areas, are being coordinated from the national headquarters under the eagle eye of the Acting Inspector General Police and the Operations Department.
On the specific incident of the robbery that was recorded in the Northeast region that led to the death of the international journalist, have you started investigations? And if you have anything you can share with us on the update or progress of the investigation?
Thank you. Investigation is in earnest, and though the 4 arrested are helping the police, you need to unravel the whole mystery surrounding the incident, and we'll be updating you on the matter for public interest sake and the international community.
So on the general issue of security, and this includes the issue of the MTTD, your department that is checking general obedience to our road traffic regulations, what is the assurance we can get from the police service? I mean, last weekend alone, just within 2 days, we lost about 21 people in only 3 accidents. What is the strategy this time around, and what assurance can you give to Ghanaians as far as these incidents are concerned?
The strategy is rigid law enforcement, have we seen, and thank God that the police administration has also unveiled the electronic surveillance aspect of it. So it is necessary that one should see a policeman before obeying the traffic rules or going by the traffic rules. Evidence so far due from the electronic surveillance is so enormous, and that over 200 people have been listed, and most of them have appeared before court and fined.
Adib, so that was my colleague Anas Korjobeno interacting with ACP Kwesi Fori. We can talk about highway robberies, we can talk about murder, among other incidents. But I just want to tease your mind on logistical constraints, for example, that the police service is facing, though we know a lot has been done in the course of this administration's work. And again, human resource constraints. The numbers, the police to civilian ratio still falls very high when it comes to UN standards of 1 to 500. We're still looking at 1 to about 800. What are your concerns in this respect? What should the Ghana Police Service be doing to ensure that the crime rate is brought down?
Well, first of all, it is important to recognize that when this government took over power in 2017, one of the first appointments the present government, the president made was the National Security Minister, in which I found very important because it was indicative of the relevance he attaches to issues of security. Indeed, it is under this regime that for the first time in the history of the country, we have a national security strategy. Aside that, this government has invested so much in the infrastructure so far as security management is concerned. The Security and Intelligence Agencies Act has been amended. The cybersecurity policy, which was first adopted in 2016, has also been amended. There are efforts towards making the Small Arms Commission an authority and all that. But as a project officer, I am not too concerned about I did this, I did that. What I am concerned about is the outcome. So in the midst of all of these interventions, how has it translated on security on the ground? Has it improved? Are less people getting killed? Are people get confident in the state's ability to ensure security, because it is their right to have the state protect them? Okay, it's a social contract sort of thing. I think that all of this notwithstanding, the security situation in the country is disturbing. Even the U.S. Department of State, in their travel advisories about Ghana, published in 2019 and 2020, points to the fact that there seems to be a growing trend of violent crime in the country. I think we need to approach this scientifically, strategically, okay? Deploying troops, okay, or police officers to parts of the country is not necessarily the answer. We need to make it intelligence-led, and I'm particularly excited that ACP Ofori has mentioned that, because it is through the intelligence that we'll be able to break through, because a lot of these robbers are syndicates. You see robbery incident happen in Tema, then another one happened in Tamale the following day, and you think these are two different groups. Look, usually it's the same group who moved from one town to another perpetrating these crimes. So with proper intelligence, we should be able to break through, get the information, and even prevent it from happening in the first place. Like we had a successful operation at Shiashi some few weeks ago. Secondly, one of the major issues we have is the response time, okay? Sometimes there is an active criminality ongoing. You call the police, it takes them forever to come. And by the time they come, the criminals might have long gone. So if we are able to reduce the response time, make it a bit more efficient, faster, a lot more criminals will be disincentivized from even perpetrating the crime in the first place, knowing full well that there's a likelihood they will be caught when they engage in that activity. So this shouldn't just be constricted to the police. Other people would also, or institutions would also have to play a role. The street naming and all that, make it accessible. There are some areas you go, you know this is a road, but someone would come and build and block it. Okay, so state institutions must work. Okay, so together we can all collectively contribute to improving the security situation in the country. And most importantly, finally, we need to improve security civilian relations. That is extremely key. You know, sometimes when you deploy officers, the indigents know the area more than the officers you deploy. The criminals know the area more than officers. So they know how to strategically target. And by the time you arrive, by the way, they have informants all over the place. So they know, oh, the police, they just moved and they will get there in 15 minutes. So they will ensure that they do the whole operation within 5 minutes, and they dissipate into thin air because they know the surrounding more than you do. So if we involve the people, especially through the chiefs, the imams, the pastors, and other opinion leaders, to understand the intrinsic value they have to act to improving security in the country. Of course, they would also not hesitate in giving out information, knowing full well that a lot of these criminals live amongst us. They are people we know. They are persons who also know us. And so the need for them to cooperate with the police.
Adib, just indulge me here very briefly. I want this to be as brief as possible. We've seen Dr. Dampare in acting capacity, and he's inherited quite a lot that he has to deal with. But if you had to give him a score, you know, based on his performances so far, what you've seen him do, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give him?
I'll give him 6.5 for now.
6.5?
Yes, it's a bit early to say, but based on what he is doing so far, points to the fact that, hey, this is someone who has that, you know, foresight to take the police to another level. As for the police, the issues are so many. You cannot handle them all at the same time, but it's one step at a time. However, taking a closer look at the efforts he's put in already points to the fact that, hey, this is someone who has that vision and has to be supported, especially by the politicians.
Well, Adib Sani, thank you so much for interacting with us this afternoon. Adib Sani is a security analyst. We're grateful for your time. In a related incident, police in Walewale in the West Mamprisi municipality say they have declared war on armed robbers following a robbery incident last Saturday. The robbery attack, which occurred over the weekend, saw several passengers robbed at gunpoint by 3 armed robbers who had blocked a stretch of the Tamale-Bolga highway near Wale Wale. Municipal Police Commander DSP Cosmos Awe made the declaration as the police intensify a manhunt for the attackers. The commander, however, called on residents in the area to help in the war against the robbers by volunteering information about suspicious characters and their activities. DSP Cosmos was speaking after the police raided several herdsmen communities along the highway in search of suspects.
They must rise up to help us because this thing is happening within the community here. You see, so when they don't volunteer information, it will be difficult. But we are doing our best and we are coming out to fight them. We are waging a war against them from now, so it's not going to be easy. We will do our best because we are picking information that these people trailed them from Bolga. They were trailing somebody in particular. It's not that it's a team that operated in Walwale, because that has happened in Walwale. They monitored a businessman who was coming to buy building materials and came and collected the money from him. So they are from his own place because they know that he's carrying money and they followed him here to take the money. This is what we are gathering. That was their target. So once it has happened, we are going to strategize and we'll fight.